Wow. Wow.
So you don't want me to be creepy, right? Okay.
So, you know, and
I'm getting very lubed up.
well, it's good that you talk about that because I think sometimes, because we're not that educated about a lot of these things, sometimes when you go through those periods of time for whatever reason that you're not lubing well, some women think there's something wrong with them or, you know, whatever. And so it's good to know that a lot of women experience this, and it's not something that's abnormal.
Mhm.
But it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with you at all. It's just...
Absolutely, and that kind of goes back to the shaming, sex shaming, because I'll do a
We'll
lot
talk
of,
about it.
exactly, I do a lot of bachelorette parties where we'll go and I'll be like, let's talk about lube, and then the girls all go like, well, I don't need lube, I don't need lube. I get my boy really, he turns me on, he does it really good, and I don't need lube. And then all the other girls are like, I don't need lube either, and it's like, oh, come on, you guys.
So does that come a lot from the guys' misconception of
I
that?
think it's
Because
just-
they're like, why do you need lube?
Well, the
Aren't I good
stereotype,
enough?
yeah, the stereotype is if you're young,
Uh-huh.
then you're gonna be just, you know, super
Right.
lubey, and so if you're not wet enough, then you must be getting old. And if you're not wet enough, I'm not turning you on.
Right, yeah.
And so that's what people think. But that's totally not true. Because while you might get wet, it might be wet enough for 5 minutes of sex, but we certainly would like to have sex a little longer than that. So you're gonna have to reapply, you're gonna have to add something to it, you know? And certainly people can be super turned on, and like I was saying, medication, they'll be totally dry. You know, and that's not comfortable. Like, so that's sort of like sex shaming. So when people say that, like in that group, I like usually say, you know, I've been using lube since I was 16. I've been a huge fan of lube. Like, I'm going to proudly stand in front of you and say that, like, from a very young age until right now, I've always loved lube, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. And then people will kind of be like, oh, okay.
Well, and the guys try to feel bad about it either because it feels that much better for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine a hand job with no lube? So, which is also why it's important if
You better have awfully soft hands and you definitely know how to work.
exactly. So that's why I was saying tasteless, odorless, because you're going to go from a hand job to a blow job. You're going to want a lube that doesn't taste kind of gross. You know,
Yeah.
some lubes are great lubes, like the liquid silk, which was the next one, but it has a bitter taste to it. So while this isn't
Well, this I'll buy because I just said, you know, ooh, it feels like liquid silk, so I must have some.
Well, I thought it was the other
It
one.
was like lotion.
yeah, it's a moisturizing lube, and
Is
it's
this the same one we just?
It's
No,
the other
this
one,
is
no.
the other one.
Oh,
I
that
just
was the
had to
first
try
one.
this.
Okay, that one.
the H2O.
That one's really good though.
And it just depends what you like. So we've got liquid silk is a creamy,
I like the other
moisturizing
one.
lubricant.
Yeah.
I like the other one.
And
You
so
like the
for-
first one?
That was good.
And so
I
creamy,
like your
moisturizing
young
lubricant. It's really nice.
Yeah, this feels like lotion.
Yeah, I always
Good.
getting it all over me when I'm in the store.
You know, I'm into moisturizer, so.
Moving up my hands.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all those lubes we just tried were water-based lubes. The other thing you could try is a silicone lube. So a little drop goes a long way. This is pink.
Ooh, ooh.
Heard of this one?
Now, see, I like that one.
Okay, so
Ew, I don't like that.
Oh,
That's interesting.
that's nice.
so
They're all nice.
so a silicone lube
Let's
lasts
get
a
all
long.
excited over there.
Oh, Lou, yeah.
It lasts a long time, and a little drop will go a long way. So you use like a couple drops of silicone lube versus like maybe a quarter size amount of water-based
That's like
lube.
what you put in your hair.
It is. It
Take that
is
static cling out of my
actually. It actually does. So the ingredient in it is called dimethicone, and that is
Yes.
the ingredient that's in this hair product. So if I have frizzies, I will actually put some pink in my hair just a little bit.
Yeah.
What is this stimulants in?
And since it doesn't have any smell to it or anything, it's really light.
Yes. So here, let me just say a couple things about silicone lubes. I'll tell you some studies.
Okay.
But silicone lube, so it can be hard to wash off. So that's one thing. So people love it and hate it for the same reason. It lasts a really long time, but also the next day you are still kind of, hey, you're ready to go. So
That ain't bad.
just saying. And you also don't want to use silicone lube with silicone toys because they're so similar. Yeah,
what
so you want
happened?
it can bond to the surface of your toy and kind of change the texture. of it. So you don't want to use silicone lube with
Doesn't do
silicone toys.
anything to you.
No, but it mess up your toy.
You okay, Mom? You freak out a little
I'm
bit?
freaking out a little here. Silicones in all your makeup, silicones in a lot of your vitamins, silica-based and what have you, so and different things, yeah, so.
All they lube is
We do a lot of
food grade
silicone.
materials. It's all okay to
I like that.
use in terms. Okay, so you're asking about stimulating lubes. Okay, we do have stimulating lubes. We have a couple different ones over here. This is Liquid, the same company that makes this H2O product. This is their stimulating lube. So this one,
So I said stimulating, what do you mean?
tingly, warm. Now this one, I find you're not going to really notice on your fingers here, you guys.
Yeah.
Slimier.
I often will tell people to put it on their wrist, but I also don't notice this one on my wrist. I've tried this one And it works. Like on the genitals it works, like on the vulva it works, on mucous membranes. And so it's a lube, it's designed to be used all
So it just
over.
warms up or
Yeah,
tingles
and it's
up?
interesting because it depends
Like
on your
mint?
interpretation of it. Like you could either be thinking it's tingly cool and it feels tingly cool, or all of a sudden you feel like it's warming, and so it's sort of both. It's just how you interpret your nerves on that. But it's designed to be used everywhere. But I find that with this one, you can really just use a couple drops directly on the clitoris, and then kind of be good with that, And that gives you the stimulation that feels good, and then you can use whatever other kind of lube you want, unless you really want the whole vulva to be tingling. But a lot of times people really just want the clit to be kind of tingling and the whole vulva not to be tingling, but whatever. We also have this little one. This is very specifically a stimulating gel. This is designed to be just a drop on the clit. Oops. Now this is much more
That's cold right out of the.
pricey. So let me see what the cost
It's
difference is.
pricey, well, it better work.
Yeah.
I was warm
You
on
doing
my
okay
fingers.
over there, Scott?
I'm fine, yeah.
So $19 for this little
Your
bottle
hands all
here.
lubed
You can feel
up.
I
that.
know.
Hand lubed up.
This is much more concentrated.
I forgot to put it on my wrist.
You can actually feel that. Or in my mind, I can.
No.
Stimulating lubes never taste good. So don't put your mouth where you're stimulating lube is, because generally it's like, they're the same. Okay, one more one to put on your wrist.
Why don't you
Put
do
this
that?
one on your wrist.
Yeah, I kind of missed on that last one. Put your wrist out.
This one you will feel.
There we go.
This one's made from a company in Oregon.
That was weird.
Amaretta, it's a natural.
Smell.
Yeah.
They have
I
like
remember we tried it
cinnamon.
one time and it was peppermint.
Mhm.
What does that remind you of?
Nobody wants peppermint on their kitty.
This
It
has
was too much.
this is cinnamon.
Is that what it smells like?
Well, a lot of
Smells like
them do have menthol in them, which is what makes
Blow
it
on it.
tingly.
Oh, it gets warm. Is this
Yeah.
getting
This one
warm?
gets warm. Do you feel it on
Yeah,
your wrist?
I feel
that one you
it.
can feel.
Yeah.
It warms up a lot when you blow on it.
These
Yeah.
have menthol in them.
If you blow on it, it warms up a lot.
Oh, it does. Blow on it. Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Thank you, Scott.
Now my wrist is on fire.
Is it really?
We have all of those.
Wow. I must not be very sensitive because.
Really?
I have very sensitive skin.
Oh,
You
yeah.
want more? And then alternatively, we have flavored lubes. So there's so many crappy flavored lubes out there in the world. So we've done a good job. I have tasted a lot of lube for my job, and we have really good lubes
What a
here.
job.
She's a lube taster.
I remember the staff meeting we had once where we had all this lube. We all had to walk, taste them, and decide what was the best flavors to pick for the store. But so we have our own flavored lubes, the Babelicious. So these are glycerin-free. They're flavored. They're not sticky. That's the most important thing. So with a flavored lube, most of the time they get sticky. So these ones are great because the Babelicious do not get sticky. They have a variety of tastes. So if you like the peppermint taste, you have the mojito peppermint. The pomegranate vanilla is a lot more subtle. I love the chocolate orange. I mean, it makes me think of that like chocolate orange and you break.
Oh, sweet.
I love that. And the dulce de leche is a favorite. It's very sweet. So feel free if you want to taste those
What's the
ones.
last one?
Dulce de leche. It's like their
Oh,
caramel.
Like caramel.
You want to taste chocolate orange?
No, I hate chocolate orange.
I think like.
Eat it.
I hate it.
Oh, my goodness. Oh. Mm.
And then we have these. This liquid has flavors. These ones.
Way
Oh,
over there,
right
too.
here.
Oh, just so
liquid
follow
tastes like
vanilla.
Jolly
That was
Ranchers.
bad.
Oh, I taste the Jolly Ranchers.
Plus I have
Now that will definitely change your
Wanna
opinion.
taste Jolly
about
Ranchers?
ratio.
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
So this is the green apple.
Mmm. That's not
Green
bad either. Green apple.
The green apple tart.
Green
and
apple.
then
You eat
Okay.
Mom, you can't just eat it though.
Oh.
You gotta use it.
So hand job, blow job, really good. Okay, so
So you have to get somebody to work with me on that one.
Okay.
do you have any questions about maybe condoms or anything else over here?
No, I think, listen, you did a great job.
Okay, do you want to talk about dildos or butt toys?
Well, let's start with dildos and work our way back.